It's like we've always known, been set in stone, unbreakable. It's like I've always dreamed, true harmony, unmistakable, unmistakable.
Hi guys, welcome back to season 2, episode 2 of the House of H.E.R podcast, your home of healing, empowerment and richness. I am joined again by my lovely friend Cassie.
Hello everybody, and thank you so much for having me on again, Holly.
You are very welcome. It's so nice to have you. I absolutely loved, well, I say loved the last episode.
Yeah.
I loved doing it with you.
I loved doing it with you. I was traumatised, but I loved doing it with you.
But this is why I think after that I decided that last episode, if you've watched it, we went back to the beginning.
Yeah.
Why the House of H.E.R started, what is the House of H.E.R and my story. And then I thought, do you know what? If we're going to do that, I may as well do the whole lot again. Fresh voice. And I think something like this, the story can never be told too many times because, you know, it's something maybe said and picked up in a different way by a different listener. But as you do know, we had a lot of problems with season 1 with the lighting, the sound. And so I think it's just better to just do it all afresh. So we're going to do a little 3-part series.
We are very excited.
So
Equally as well though, I watched your first season and I watched the episode where you talked about what you had been through, and I learned so much more this time round.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I learned so much more this time round. And I've got to be honest, I drove home in complete silence and was just traumatised by what you'd been through.
I just went and had a Chinese, which shows how emotionally not unaffected, but it's just an emotional block that I have. Like, it's just so weird. I was saying to you as well, like, it's like when I watch things and I watch the episode back, it's like I'm watching an episode of EastEnders. Like, I don't...
Like you're watching someone else?
Yeah, I watch it, and when I talk about it here, there is parts of it when I think of my kids and it takes me back sometimes to an emotion that I felt in that time, and it does floor me, and you can see that when the emotion comes out in me. But when I'm watching it back sometimes and I see things, or I look on my phone and something comes up, I'm very emotionally blocked off from it. Like, it doesn't affect me.
That's definitely a coping mechanism though. It has to be.
Yeah.
That was the only way you could survive.
And I think, I don't know whether it's for so long, I did have to block it off. You know, when I was speaking to my friends, when I was speaking to my family, when I was going and doing things, like, I had to be emotionally completely shut off. So I think that was just my way of surviving the relationship, to be honest. So I don't know whether now I've just is my way of coping, because it's the way I survived the relationship. You know, no one knew, and everyone was like, yeah, I'm fine. And I would like we said in episode 1, it just became so normal for me that I've just built up this wall, but I need to get it down a bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also as well, I know we're going to talk about the healing, your healing journey and what you've actually done. But I think in order to move forward with healing, you have got to go back, and really feel those emotions in order to move forward, Holly. Or you're always going to be in a place of like being stuck.
And the thing is, I don't like, we will talk about on the healing part of it, but I don't shut it off, and I actually really struggle with not being able to stop thinking about it. And having those constant, like, there isn't I would say there's not a minute of the day where there isn't some sort of flashback thought of what happened. It's just dealing with it's like it comes and I'm like, and I think when you're a mum and you've got kids around you, it's also another thing that you don't have time to sit and cry over it and deal with it. So when these things happen, I'm just so used to just thinking it, being a bit like that, and then, right, come on, got to get on with make dinner now, or you know.
I think that's trauma, full stop. I mean, obviously, you know what I've been through, and I think it feels like it happened to somebody else.
Yeah.
And
just for the listeners listening, and we will actually have to talk about this because you're a woman of empowerment, which
Thank
is
you.
what the
As are
podcast
you.
is also about. But Cassie, going off subject for a minute,
Yeah,
had breast cancer. You don't
I
mind me saying, do
did.
you?
No, not at all.
Breast cancer, which is how we kind of connected. That's a story for another day.
That is
because this
definitely a
is,
story
you
for
know,
another
when
day.
you talk about alignment, that's crazy. But yeah, you know about
Yeah,
trauma
and
how
that and it does, and it feels like that time of going through breast cancer treatment and surviving, and coming out the other side, and you know, living life after. When I think about it now, it feels like it happened to somebody else,
yeah,
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm here, and you're here,
and we
and you
made
know,
it.
we have got a lot to do. We
And
are
you
busy.
as well have found a purpose through your
Absolutely,
pain,
which is
and
wonderful. Yeah.
yeah,
So we're going to dig a bit deep now, and I want to take you back to the point where you decided that enough was enough. You left the relationship, and then you went to the police. Can you talk to me about that?
yeah. So I think in episode 1,
Yeah.
we went over, didn't we, that I left and then I went back
Yes.
when my aunt died.
Yes.
And then I think I did mention, you know, nothing really changed, and it was the same in the whole Christmas situation. And I think I can't remember. I remember just being like, oh, I had the car accident, and I spoke about that, and I just got to a point I was like, whoa, I'm done. And actually through then, I think at the end of this, I had really bad vertigo, like, and I was going to the doctors, and I was going to the hospital. Was actually like 4 days before Christmas. I can't remember how many days, but really close to Christmas. I was literally in a hospital. To the point where I was throwing up. I couldn't. It was so I couldn't stand up properly. It just got so bad. And every time I was going, they were saying to me, "It's stress."
Yeah.
And I have a friend who went on to be my trauma. She has a trauma clinic who I worked with very closely, and she kept saying to me, "You are under so much trauma," because I'd started opening up to her a little bit about everything that happened, that, you know, this is your body's, this is the way it's coming out with you.
Yeah.
And I remember being in hospital, and he was still on the phone to me, and I had to send him messages in the hospital to show, because he thought I was lying.
I have like a burning sensation in my chest when you talk about
I
things
know.
like this.
And I had to send a picture of the hospital.
It's just crazy.
And he
Holly.
wouldn't let me get off the phone. And at this point, he was saying to me, like, but just tell me that you're going to think about it. Just tell me that you're going to get. And I used to, and, you know, wrong or right, I don't know. But at this point, I was just like, yeah, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? Maybe I will come back. Maybe we just need time away. Because if I said to him, no, it's done, I would never have got him. He'd have been at my door. And so I just had to go along, and it probably wasn't the right thing to do, because I was giving hope, maybe, because his mum actually said to me after, you know, you got to stop doing that. But it was like, it was my way of calming him down. And when you know, I didn't want him turning up at my door, and if I didn't answer him, he would threaten to turn up at my door and all of this stuff. So that happened, and I remember being in the hospital throwing up, and he'd be down the phone at me, and I'd just be like, 1 second, and any normal person would be like, go on, go. But he was like, I was throwing up on the phone to him, and just
hanging on.
So that was all going on. He didn't leave me alone. The whole of Christmas bombarded me. Mind games, if I didn't answer the phone, he'd say to me, I'm going to turn up. And then I think we got into January, and I don't know I can't remember exactly what happened, but I went full throttle. If you follow my Instagram, I was going for a really big promotion with work, and I don't know how I got through that month, but I literally put everything into hitting this promotion. It was almost like I was proving to myself, you have taken every part of me. I can't stand up. I felt so, it was really starting to affect me, but you are not fucking taking this opportunity from me and my children. So when I do something, I don't do it by halves. I literally, and I think it's a bit of an ADHD thing, like fixating. I threw myself into this. And I can't actually remember what happened in this period, but he actually left me alone for a little while. But I came out of the back of January, and I'd also at this point just started therapy. And what therapy undone or unlocked was what was going on.
A realisation of
and
what
the
was
severity
going on.
of what I was going through.
Yeah.
And a bit like everyone's reaction, she was like, I was like, well, he does this and he done this and he done, and she was like, Holly, do you understand what? And I was like, well, yeah, I know it's domestic abuse, but you know, I went back and I done this and I talked to him like this, and she was like, no. And I think that was going on while I was going for this promotion, but I just couldn't. And then I got to the end of that month, I hit the promotion, and what I think in my eyes, I think what a lot of us do is, I think we're always working saying, can you think when I do that, that's going to solve that?
Yeah.
And what I came to realise, that just because I hit this life-changing opportunity and this promotion, it didn't change. It didn't give me the peace, number one, that I was hoping for. And it didn't change internally what was going on inside my body and what I'd been through. And it's like all of a sudden I had all of that focus, and I focused so much on hitting that promotion. But when I had nothing to focus on after that, and all that was left was my reality of, oh my fucking God, what is going on? And I think I found it really hard. I think you just, at this point, I had no idea how our bodies worked, I'll be honest, how our nervous system worked. I walked out of that relationship and thought, I'm going to be peaceful. He's not in my life anymore. I'm going to have peace.
Yeah.
You don't.
No.
Let me tell you, you don't. And that was a really hard thing. And I think because I'd thrown myself into this work promotion, he actually emailed me. And the emails were so crazy. It was like, well done on your promotion. And I actually went back and said thank you. And then it was like, look, I need to talk to you. I think this was around this time. I've got a life-changing opportunity, and you need to be an adult about this, and you need to do this. And you, honestly, they were just so, you need
Like
to stop
blackmail.
being cold-hearted.
Yeah.
You need to, I'm on the verge of a life-changing opportunity that could change my life. And basically, if you don't help me, he wanted me to give him peace in what he'd done to me, so that he could move on with his life and live happily ever after. So during this time, obviously, I came out the back of January and I hit the all-time low. The therapist was making me very aware of what was going on, and I hit an emotional breakdown. Yeah. And my sister then became so worried about me, and at this point, everyone had started to know what was going on.
But this was at the point that you couldn't even get out of bed, right?
Yes, so this is when it started happening, because I had really started opening up. And of course, I'm going into therapy now and I am talking.
You're putting it out in the universe.
My friend had told my sister. So instead of me now internalising it and shutting it down, I am talking about it, and the floodgates are opening of what's been going on. And it ruined me. It really, honestly, I went into this complete state of, I don't know, of suicidal stage. I don't know how to, it was horrendous. Like, and I kept myself together. These are the bits that choke me. I kept myself together so much, like the kids knew nothing. And I remember picking Georgie up from school one day, and this was when it got really bad. This was must have been in the February. And I remember picking her up from school, and she got in the car, and this is the bit that gets me, because when I talk about the kids, it like,
of course,
I just could not hold it in any longer. And I really tried to, for so long, keep myself together.
Oh, Holly.
And I just could not hold it in anymore. Like, I literally couldn't see through the tears. I was like sobbing.
Yeah.
And I got home, and I remember I messaged my friend Steph and my sister. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And my friend Steph, bless her, like, she came round literally in seconds and slept basically on the floor with her little girl and the dog. Wouldn't leave me. My sister came round, and there'd been a bit of a build up to this, but I feel like this was like the bit where I was like, I just physically, I can't fight this feeling anymore. I can't cope with how it's making me feel. I was looking at my children, and it was a dark place. And I just honestly, like, so many people, and this is the thing that I want to get across, is like, so many people say to you, you're not going to feel like this forever. And at the time, like, honest to God, I've never felt like that. You know, everyone has bad times and that, but I genuinely was at the point where I was like, I can't face this again. I cannot wake up. I used to like go to bed and I couldn't sleep because I was fearing waking up the next day and how I was going to get through that day.
Yeah.
And my thought process, and all I cared about, like obviously my job was social media, and all that was what he thought of me. And at this point I had this fixation which was sending me into a spiral of how I looked.
Yeah.
And this was when I started seeing my trauma there. It was all going on at the same time, but I couldn't look in a mirror, and it wasn't out of being vain. And there's still parts of it, you know, that are very much there. But I mean, when I was like this, it was like awful. There wasn't a second of the day that I couldn't look in the mirror, and all I cared about was what he was going to think of me. Is he going to be looking at me thinking, "Ugh, look at her"? And it was body dysmorphia, which actually I want to do an episode on, because I think people think that it's vainness or whatever, and no one understands it, but it literally took over my life.
It was driven, your anxiety was
It was something for me to
driving
focus on,
Yeah.
rather than the pain of what it was like.
Yeah.
My therapist said to me, it was my way of focusing on something without focusing on what I was dealing with.
Yeah.
And also, like I said to you, he had never put down the way I look. And this isn't me saying it in a I am beautiful
Of
way.
course
It's just,
not.
he never did. And I think because he'd put down every other part of me, all I felt like he liked about me was the way I looked. So I became so scared that I was going to lose that. And madly that he was going to look at me and think, ugh. Like,
Yeah.
that's the madness that was going round in my head. And it's so hard to explain and understand, but it was a dark place to be, a really dark
Absolutely.
place to be. And at that point, that night, I just hit that point, and I think my sister thought I think that my sister and Steph just did think,
They must have been absolutely petrified.
yeah.
They must
my
have been
sister,
so
my sister
scared.
actually said, like, I have to tell mum and dad now. I have to tell mum, because if I don't, and you're going to do something, they are never going to forgive me.
Yeah.
So she told my mum, and that night, it was that night, and I remember just laying on the bed, and Georgie was walking past the bedroom, and but at that point I just didn't care. Like,
Yeah.
I had nothing else to give. I just lost all control of myself and my feelings, and
It had just finally become
yeah,
too much.
It had hit me.
Your body was just shutting down on
Yeah,
you.
literally. And oh God,
Oh my
that feeling is
God.
just, honestly, like, I never ever thought that another human could
do
ever,
that.
or that you think about people that I've never understood suicide until now,
Yeah.
and thankfully I didn't, and I've got a good, amazing family, which is half the reason I went to the police, because I know how dark I felt, and the only thing that got me through was having the support around me for people to literally pick me up. And I'm not joking when I say literally pick me up.
Holly,
And
I've
for-
got to ask you a question. Did you, when your mum finally was told
Yeah.
the truth about what had been going on by your sister, did she then put two and two together because she'd seen a change in your behaviour,
I
or
think-
had you just become so good at masking it?
I think my mum actually saw bruises on my face once that were yellow from where he had strangled me. And I just was like, oh, I don't know what that is. She was like, oh, have you got flowers at home? I was like, oh yeah, maybe it's a bit of pollen. I mean, this is how ridiculous it was
Yeah.
getting. But at the time, but she never liked it. She never got close to him. She always knew he wasn't right for me. But I'd never even told my mum. Like, my sister knew the arguments. My sister knew the controllingness. So did my friends. But I never spoke to my mum and dad about it.
Yeah.
When she knew, she came over that night. Well, I mean, her head nearly spun off her shoulders. She got in her car and she wanted to drive to his. She
Yeah.
wanted to drive. You can
Of course
imagine
she
it
did.
broke her. And she came round, and, you know, even her, she sat in front of me and was like, why was you going back? You know, you just don't get it. And I think this has been a whole learning curve for a lot of people in my life.
Yeah.
And for me, of understanding, because the first thing that everyone said to me was, why was you going back? And I had no answer at this point. I was like, I don't know. And then you feel guilty, because then you're like, well, and then you feel ashamed, and then you feel stupid, and then you go back inwards, because it's
Yeah.
like, I don't actually have the answer to why I'm going back. Maybe because I'm just as bad as he is, or
It just goes to show, though, the coercive control and the
Yeah.
effect that it can have. But you finally got to the point that night.
yeah. So they said to me, we didn't actually tell my dad for a couple of weeks because we was going away for my uncle's 60th, and he was been looking forward to it, and it
Mhm.
would have just ruined him. But when they eventually did tell we that I wasn't there, that they got him at my sister's and sat down, and he was heartbroken, as you can imagine. He went through every emotion
Yeah.
as a dad: angry, upset, hurt that he hadn't known, they hadn't picked up on things, and he then they said to me, you are going to the police. And I was like, at first I was like, absolutely not. Like, I wasn't, that was not in my like agenda at
Yeah.
all. But they was like, that was when they said to me, if this was Georgie, what would you be telling her to do? And also, are you going to let him go and get in another relationship? And if that girl hasn't got what you have got, the family and the support and all of that, how will it end up for her?
Yeah.
And that really affected me. And my dad was like, you can't even get yourself out of bed, and he's out enjoying his life. And this isn't a thing of how dare he go out and enjoy, like his friends and family, you know, thought that I'd done it because I didn't want him to go on holidays and didn't want him to go to his friend's wedding or whatever else. But why should someone like that be able to go out and live and then I'm left in therapy paying hundreds of pounds a month
Yeah.
and not being able to look after my children and wanting to end my life while you're out gallivanting with your friends onto your next
Completely.
victim? No.
Completely. Yeah, they were so right.
And so that was that. And I went to the police, and to be honest, I had no idea or thought that this was going to be what the outcome was. I
Yeah.
really didn't. I just thought they were going to give him a slap on the wrist and say, don't treat
I
women like
remember you
that.
telling me that. I remember you being like, I cannot believe that it grew legs.
Yeah.
And that it carried on
Honestly,
going.
still to this day, I'm like, I think that was probably one of the biggest things that made me think, oh my God, this is fucking serious.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the seriousness of this. So you go to the police.
So I filled in a form online. So, you know, this was the process of what. So I went online, Essex Police, I think it was, and filled in a form, and they say we'll get in touch within 24 hours, I think it was. And literally that night, they rung me. By the time
was
I'd
it a
got
female
home.
officer?
No, it was a male, actually.
Okay.
And they literally said, can we book an interview with you? Can you come in to the police station? And I think they booked that for the next day or the day after, really quickly. I went in, and they was lovely to be. I cannot, honest to God, my experience with them is phenomenal. They were just amazing from start to finish. But when I went in, I basically told them, and he basically said to me, we think you should make a statement. Because what I was saying when I went in was kind of a bit off the record. It was me saying it.
Yeah.
He said to me,
We want to make it
Holly,
official.
this is really serious. We want to make a statement. And are you happy? And I was like, I don't know. And I phoned my mum, and I said, what do you think I should do? And obviously,
Yeah.
she was like,
Make the
don't
statement.
leave that room.
Yeah.
So I did. I was in there hours. Luckily, and weirdly enough, I think the whole time, I think I was actually worried for my life a lot of the time. And I think because of that, I did always take pictures. There was a lot that was missing because he smashed my phone. So when we was away at the beginning of when we went to Cyprus,
Yeah.
he'd smashed my phone. So I lost a lot there. But I always did. And I had 18 months worth of messages of coercive controlling, but I had a lot of evidence, which
Yeah.
I was lucky for. So they had all of that. They took it away, and at the end they said, right, well, we've got enough to bring him in and hopefully charge him with, I can't remember, there was about 6 charges at the beginning. I can't remember exactly what they were. And they said a warrant will go out for his arrest. And what they explained to me then and there, and even at this point, it was so downplayed, is they said to me basically, and this is what happens for anyone listening, you know, if you're going through the same thing, is because it's domestic abuse, they can't, if someone nicks something out of a sweet shop, they can pull them in, take them off the street, charge them with theft or whatever. But because it's domestic abuse and it's very serious, the Essex police and the police officers cannot charge. So it has to go to CPS.
Right.
So they can bring him in and they can question him, but they have to release him pending further investigation through the CPS, and the CPS have 4 weeks to come back and say, right, we've got enough and we think this is a doable, a chargeable thing that, you know, we can take to court.
Yeah.
So my thing was they were going to bring him in. He was getting released on bail and the CPS might not even do anything with it. It took them 3 weeks to arrest him. They did try a couple of times, but because they're so understaffed, it kind of goes in an order. You know, they go and try and find him, and if he's not in, they go on to the next one, and it goes in a bit of a loop. During this time, he was still driving on to where I live because he got his hair cut down the road, and funny things were happening. Parcels were going missing out my garden. I've got no proof of that, of course, but weird things were happening.
It's like a film.
Yeah. And actually, just before this, when my mum and that found out and I had gone to the police, obviously my best friend was married to his friend, and I think he got wind because he actually started bombarding me again with relentless calls, like one call after another, hundreds of times. So I think he knew what was happening and was maybe trying to save himself. I don't know. Again, that could be coincidence. But so it took them 3 weeks. 3 weeks later, I was in Kat's Kundalini class. I came out and I had a missed call from his sister and the police, and they'd arrested him. And oh my God, I can't even tell you. I was, I don't even know how I drove home. Like, I was beside myself.
Scared.
But they were amazing, the police, and basically they arrested him at like 9 o'clock in the morning. They didn't interview him till 2 a.m. the next day, so they kept him in there squirming for as long as they could, making him sweat. When he got arrested, he done a statement to say he had never touched me and it was just a bit of both, basically, or something like that. Can't really remember, but he denied anything. And he didn't, I heard through the grapevine, think that it was as serious. He didn't realise,
in his opinion,
that
he
didn't realise how bad it was going to be. And so they took him in, they kept him in. They interviewed him at 2 a.m. and basically they originally, it's so hard to remember what the charges were, but it was one coercive control charge. Now, coercive control covers everything in domestic abuse. It's the highest domestic abuse charge. It can cover even things like rape. It's not that happened to me, but it can cover, it covers a lot. One of that, stalking and harassment. It's so bad I can't actually even remember what the charges were, but I was a little bit like, when they told me the charges. And also the thing is, what I want to explain is, when you go to the police, because I heard a lot of this from his friends, now you don't get to say what you want them to be charged with. So they will only charge them with what the evidence is that they have got. You know, it goes to CPS, they look through it, and if they think that what they see and what they've got fits under, they will charge. You know, it's not down to me to say I want him to be charged with coercive control. If they haven't got the evidence for that, or they don't think, they're not going to do it. So when they interviewed him, they said to me, do you want us to let you know? And I was like, well, I'm not going to sleep anyway. At 3 a.m. they text me, and bearing in mind, I'm expecting them to interview him, bail him, and this go on for 4 weeks until CPS. They took him in and they got an emergency CPS charge within 7 hours, and they didn't release him on bail. They kept him in. This is when I started to think, oh my fucking God, because this doesn't happen a lot. You know, you read a lot of stuff, and unfortunately, it's a bit unheard of, like how serious. And I think this for me was like, oh my God, this is really serious.
Yeah.
They kept him in and they charged him with 2 counts of one count of coercive control, ABH for breaking my bones, 2 counts of intentional strangulation, harassment. I think there was something on there for damaging my property and my smashing my door in my house, and they took him to court. They kept him in. They said he won't be released on bail. Then at that point they said to me, he may probably get released in court. We're going to take him to court first thing in the morning. If he gets released from court, it's a better thing because court bail is a lot stricter than police bail, so he will have a lot stricter. So they took him to court. I actually was travelling to Birmingham that day for trauma healing and I hadn't heard anything. It got to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I rung the police. I was just all over the place. And when I rung them, they was like, oh, no, we've got nothing in. We haven't heard anything. And then while I was on the phone, he was like, oh, no, actually, it's just come in. Yeah, he's not been released on bail. He's been held on remand. He'll be held on remand now till court. I was like...
Did that give you any kind of comfort that actually
it gave
what
me,
you had experienced?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think it really did make me think, oh my...
How serious
Jesus
what
Christ,
you
this
had
is
been
serious.
through.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't keep people in
No.
prison, you know? And, yeah, that was that. And that, he was kept on remand until... and the court process, I will say, is a long one. My heart got broke a lot of times. I learned a lot through the process of... You know, at the end of the day, the outcome that I got was incredible. Should they be locked up and the key thrown away? Absolutely. But, you know, what I learned through the process is no justice was ever going to come from how much time a judge said he gets to spend behind bars. For me, I stood up for myself. I stood up for millions of other girls. I stood up for the women that have lost their lives.
Yeah.
And there's one less monster on the road for a while, you know, however long that may be. But I think it gave me a sense of, no, you're not getting away with this.
Yeah.
You're not. You may tell me that it's this. Now stand up and tell the police that you've done it because I spoke to you in the wrong way, or that I didn't do this, or my skirt was too short. And then let's see if they say, oh, you know what, mate, you've got a point.
Yeah.
Like your friends do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see if they've
At
got
last,
the same.
finally,
Yeah.
he was being...
Yeah, and they did, and the dates changed, and it was meant to get sentenced in July, and it didn't, and it got moved back. And all I would say to you is don't get your heart set on dates, because it is so disheartening. But
It must have taken so much courage, Holly, to go to the police, to carry on going through all of that. You know, you're reliving all of this trauma over and over and over again. But you're also putting it out in the universe pretty much for the first time, because you got so good at hiding everything. And actually, everything that you went through was everything that it was.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
complete and utter abuse at
Yeah.
the highest degree.
yeah. And also, I think once this came out, people then found out. I can't say too much about his ex-partner, but things started resurfacing,
Yeah.
which also gave me the courage, not the courage, I don't know what the word is, but I always felt responsible, and like I had made him this monster, and that was always a fear of mine. Through things coming out, I realised I wasn't the first, and
No.
it wasn't me that made him a monster. He is a monster.
Yeah.
And I
And
think
you were the victim in all of this.
yeah, and
As were his ex-partners.
yeah, and I really struggled with that. Like I
Yeah.
really struggled to, and I think that's what I just found so evil about him, is that I would say to him, like, you know, I can't be the first one, and you know, you stopped me taking my medication and made me feel like I was going mad, and the whole time you knew it was you.
Oh
The
my
whole
God,
time you
Holly.
knew that you was watching me, to the point I remember actually in the December when I was going to a therapy session, I had to leave him in my house. He came to my house and I was rocking. At this point, I was literally rocking on my stairs, staring into a wall. And he messaged me, or was sitting in front of me as well, and saying to me, are you okay? Like, I think you need to go to the doctors. I don't think you're right. Like, and I genuinely at this point was clinically insane. I think I was rocking, and I believed it was me, and he was making me like, are you okay? Like,
And
I'm
he let
worried
you.
about you, and he let me.
He let you.
That's the evil part. I feel like that is
Yeah.
worse than what actually
Yeah.
hitting me.
Yeah.
You genuinely was making me feel like I was insane, like I was, and that's dangerous.
That is so dangerous, Holly. And the cycle of abuse that happened in his past relationship continued in your relationship.
And each time it got worse.
And it got worse.
And it got worse. And actually, it's funny because his ex-partner actually said, you know, she had fears that one day he would go on and to kill. And actually, when it went to court, the strangulation charges got dropped. Not because I've got evidence. I had pictures of strangulation marks. They actually wrote me a letter, the CPS, to say, basically, they're not dropping it because there's no evidence or that he didn't do it. But actually, crazy enough, he ended up getting guilty for 2 coercive controls. He actually went guilty for a lot of the charges.
Yeah.
He done a plea deal, which meant he went guilty to them but not the strangulation. But what they said to me is how it works, the charges get put on top of each other. He would have got no more time. The biggest charge was the coercive control, and he had 2 of them.
Yeah.
He would have served no more time. So to save me from going through a court case, because he went not guilty to the strangulation, I would have had to go to court and do a trial on those. And they said to me, for the outcome to be him serving no more time, because they're only going to stack them against, and the highest charge he can get is for the coercive control, and he's got 2.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know, as much as I would love of guilty. So it wasn't because there was no evidence or that he didn't do it. The evidence is there in plain sight. It's because it would have got no better outcome for me.
Yeah.
So why drag me for a trial?
completely.
Why also for the police time? You know, why go through 6 weeks of a trial when the outcome's going to be no different?
But the really positive thing about all of this, though, Holly, is that you felt so heard, so seen, so supported by the police that were looking after you.
Oh my God,
at that
they was
time.
incredible. They was absolutely, I know, and you know, and I hope this gives hope. And I don't want to, you know, I do know a lot of people through being on this journey, through, you know, building this community online, that a lot of people haven't had that same experience. But a lot of people that I do know actually from Harlow Police Station have had amazing experiences.
Yeah.
And I just feel very, very lucky. Not lucky, but lucky that that was the police station that I was under. You know, the court, the judge absolutely...
Just hold that for 1 minute because we're going to get to that. What I think is important to say as well is that if women are in this position, actually hearing the positivity coming from you, from the way that the police have treated you.
Oh my God, yeah.
We want to encourage women to speak up.
Yeah, because I think when I went to the police, actually, it's really important. This is where I started finding out a little bit more of the trauma bond side of things and all of that. When I went to the police, I actually said, I'm really sorry, but I went back to him. And
that
he
makes
was
me want
like,
to cry.
he was like, and I felt guilty because that's what everyone around me was saying. Well, why did you go back to him? His friends, his family, my friends, my family was like, you're going back there. Why are you doing it? So when I went to the police, I was like, I genuinely thought they were going to tell me off, don't you, getting teary?
It just makes me so emotional.
Yeah, like...
It just makes me feel so emotional. I feel like you were this young woman.
Yeah. I look back and I just remember, like, I was so vulnerable and so confused. But I remember them saying to me, Holly, this is the cycle of abuse.
Yeah.
You've gone back a couple of times. We deal with women that go back for 25 years.
Yeah.
And they were just incredible. They actually put it down as high risk. So I got immediately transferred to a domestic abuse charity who were incredible. They were changing pathways. They were absolutely incredible. They actually sent me Ring doorbells to put on my house because in the meantime of me going to the police and him getting arrested, obviously I didn't feel safe. We wasn't sure if he was going to get bail, if he was going to get released. They were incredible. And they treated me, you know, they put all the safety measures in place. I had a safety plan. They were amazing and I couldn't have asked for any more. And, you know, I hope that the laws are changing, I do
Yeah.
believe, around domestic abuse. And actually in court, he spoke about the seriousness of domestic abuse, and he ended up actually getting, because he went guilty, how lovely of him, they get a discount on
Oh.
their, because obviously they've done everyone a favour.
They get less time
They
on
get
their
25%
sentence.
off.
Right.
So he actually would have got, I think it was 8.5 years. He got two, oh God, it's so hard to remember. This is so bad, isn't it? 2 counts of coercive control and an ABH for breaking my bones. I can't remember what the other one was. I'm pretty sure
There was one more.
there
though.
was
there
one
was
more.
4, wasn't there?
I should know this. I can't remember what it is.
That's protection.
I can't actually
blocking
remember
it-
what the
blocking it
fourth
out
one
of
is,
your
but
mind.
basically he ended up getting 8.5 years, but because he got 25%, it took it down to 6.5 years, which is still, I mean, an incredible
6.5
outcome.
years.
And
yeah.
it shows the seriousness
Yeah, it
of
really
it.
does.
And yeah, I think he got maximum sentencing basically for each charge.
Yeah.
Then the 25% taken off. Then obviously he'd done 6 months on remand. That counts as double. So I think, I don't actually know when he's going to be due out. I'd rather not think about it right now.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about the victim statement. Sorry, let me get this right. It's called a VPS.
Yeah.
It's the victim personal statement
Yeah.
to the court. Let's talk about that, and actually, what did it mean for you to have your voice heard?
I think that
Because
changed everything.
That's courage. Like, you must have been shaking in your boots.
And do you know what I've just got to say about that? This is, I think it must have rocked the judge and everybody in that room. When it went to court, I chose to start because I thought I need him. It was very closed off. I need him to understand once and for all. I still cared a bit too much about what he thought, but I wanted him to understand. I wanted his family that decided to show their faces and friends to understand how much it had impacted. But also I thought this is my last time to stand up and have something. But I'd asked for screens in front of me to not be seen. I didn't want to see him.
Yeah.
I think that would have I wouldn't have been able to do it if I'd have seen him, and I didn't want him to see me.
Yeah.
Actually, when it went to court, he refused to. He asked for me to not have the screens in the courtroom.
Even at the final hour, that man,
Yeah,
if I can even call him a man,
yeah. He said that he doesn't want me to have the screens.
still
He's
wanted the
barrister,
control.
and the judge basically was like, "Fuck off" in the
Yeah,
nicest way possible.
absolutely.
But I think that proved to the judge that I think he was still trying to get that power over me. Look at me, maybe make me feel a bit timid. I don't know why, but still control.
Yeah.
So I think that just didn't do him any favours whatsoever.
But you know, in like his warped brain, I mean, I would want to look at you. You're an absolute beaut, and maybe in his mind, it was almost like, I know it's like quite warped, but maybe
yeah.
he did just want to
Yeah,
cast
maybe.
eyes on you one
Yeah.
more time. You know?
Yeah. But the victim personal statement, that's the only thing that I would say, and to anybody going through this, do your own victim statement, because basically when the police said to me, they gave me a form to fill in and they actually half filled it in for me, and it was like, how has it affected you? Business shut down, suicidal. It was like so much,
Like a
it
tick
showed
list.
nothing. It was just them ticking something off. It
Yeah.
showed no emotion, and I was like, absolutely not. Like, that is not, there is so much more to that. So I'd done my victim 4 pages. It was
Wow.
when I tell you what, that was emotion. That was hard. It took me so long. They was chasing me. Have you got your stat? Because it was just so, actually writing it down and getting it out was awful. And actually, when I sent it to my sister, and she was just like, oh my God.
It must have just been so heartbreaking for your family.
Yeah.
Did your mum go to court?
Yeah, so my dad didn't. My mum, all my friends.
Oh,
We
I
had an
remember seeing
army.
it. I remember seeing it.
And actually, his ex-partner, the mother of his children,
Did
came
she
with me, and
go?
her sister, to stand in
That's
solidarity.
That is
And I think when he
absolutely
see
incredible.
her, oh my God, I think he must have thought.
Because he would have been able to see all of
Yeah,
them.
and also, he could see, and he was quite brazen, I think, when he come in. Obviously, I couldn't see it. I actually watched it from a video link outside, but I couldn't see him. And everyone said, my friends were like, they didn't take eyes off of him. And they said that he was quite, when he went in, as they were reading everything out, but the judge wiped, the judge actually, when I read the CPS on the police ad, were crying.
Oh my goodness.
listening to my statement and everything that he had done, and they were reading things out, that, you know, messages in front of his friends and family, and
Text messages that he'd
he'd
sent you.
yeah, and I think everyone said that his face as it was going along was going more and more
Yeah.
like a lead balloon, just
Yeah.
someone putting it, he was like deflating. But the judge actually reread my victim statement
Do you know
out.
it's a bit like humiliation? Sorry, we'll
Yeah.
come back to that in one sec. You know, it's a bit like humiliating him the way that he did to you.
To you, yeah. And his barrister, is it his barrister, his solicitor,
Yeah.
or whatever, actually tried to stand up and say it wasn't a prolonged period of time. And the judge turned around to her and said, if you had been under the level of abuse that Miss Dowding has for 18 months and was inflicted with the level of abuse that she was day in, day out, physically and mentally, I think you would class it as a prolonged period of time. Like,
Absolutely.
honest to God, every single thing that they tried to argue, the judge,
He was
I mean, he
having
literally
none of
used
it.
him as, like, threw the book at him.
As an
basically, As an
example.
example.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, we all came out and was like, judge, I can't even remember what his name is, judge for Prime Minister, because he was, the way he looked at me when I read my victim personal statement, which I cried the whole way
that's
through.
what
How
I
I
cried
actually
then.
got through it, I don't know. But if I can say to anybody to have your final say, if you are brave enough and strong enough to go through that court process, that for me, I think, showed the impact that it
Yeah.
had. And I said, you know, he can do however long. I was served a life sentence now, because my life will never be the same again. I will never be the same again in whatever way. I may become a stronger version, but I will never ever be the same
Forever
again, and
changed.
I am forever changed for that. So for him to just walk through, it's not fair. You know, I couldn't cut my children's dinner, I couldn't, every part of my life, and why should they just walk away? Why should he get away with it and I am left scarred, not physically maybe, but mentally?
Yeah. Tell me about you've just floored me again.
Sorry.
Tell me about the judge and what did he do with your victim personal statement?
Yes, so he reread the victim statement
because
out.
it was that impactful.
And yeah, everyone was crying in the room. His friend at the end got up, and when he basically said, he actually said how much serious it was. So basically, in terms of like breaking my bones and doing all of that, because it was in a domestic relationship, a loving relationship where I should feel safe, it made the severity of it so much worse. And when they actually read out the time, his friend got up at the end and was like, oh, so he's coming out in this year, yeah, coming out in this, and it was just like,
go away.
honestly, just, yeah,
Full.
But
Let's talk about losses, Holly, because I know you suffered a lot with this, and I know that, you know, you may go on to talk about this in more detail, but talk to me about the losses that happened. You went to the police, it went to court, he got the book thrown at him, and rightly so.
I think his friends and family knew everything.
Yeah.
They was always on side. I think I mentioned it in the other episode. His mum had always said to me, "He's lucky you don't go to the police on him." Everyone knew what was going on, and everyone was on my side. His sister was amazing, and I will still say, you know, I had a great relationship with her. I had a great relationship with his mum. I had a great relationship with all of them, to be fair, until they obviously realised that their son and brother and whoever else, it was going to become knowledge. And I think, you know, the shame, then it became my fault.
Yeah.
How dare you?
They turned
Because
on
it was
you.
his mum who sent me the voice message that I shared on social media about, you know, just everyone's sick of hearing it, just brush it under the carpet, you know, he's done this, but you've got your issues too.
And did she at this point know that he had broken your bones?
I don't know.
Brush it up, but regardless.
She knew he was violent because she had all the pictures of me covered in bruises.
But this is exactly.
I don't know whether she knew
regardless of
ins
that,
and outs, but she knew he was violent with me. She knew he dragged me.
he shouldn't touch a hair on your body.
Yeah. So that was, I lost, and I was so panicked. I remember his sister, when he got arrested, sent me a message basically saying, why didn't you mention that he was harassing you? Why didn't you say all of this? I'm gutted that it's come to this. That basically, I'm gutted that it's got to you going to the police. And
I'm gutted that you've
and
taken
it
a
made
stand
me
against
feel
him.
so. I just went back. Have I done the right
Yeah.
thing? I just completely lost myself again. And then through it, I lost my friends. His friends were very much still like, you know, he's our friend of 15 years, and that's my friendship circle. I lost so much. I lost my best friend,
Yeah.
which has been
Really tough.
one of the hardest things, I think. Like I've said, you know, he was part of my life for a couple of years, bar being friends with him. She was my best friend since I was like 5.
That's a huge loss, Holly.
So yeah, I know we'll touch more on that, but yeah, I lost a lot. I
Yeah.
lost a lot, but you know, to the girl listening to this, you can't heal in the environment that breaks you.
Yeah.
You physically can't. You have to break away from that. Like it's the hardest thing, but nothing changes if nothing changes. And at that point in my life, I was never ever gonna break free from what was happening and that environment and all that was happening. And it wasn't my friend's fault, but every time I was speaking to her, I naturally wanted to say, what's this person saying, what's that person saying, and they were speaking to him inside. And I was then, every time I got off the phone, I was caring zero about how I was feeling and all about what everyone else's opinions were of me going to the police and how I was coping and what I was doing and what I was saying. And it just, my whole thing came about them.
Yeah.
And I was still connected, so I was never going to heal.
No. You literally had to cut everything off.
Everything.
Yeah. It is the only way to heal.
It is.
God, that was a lot.
That was a lot.
How you feeling?
I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough when I do sit and talk about it. And I think when I talk about things with the kids, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard because I sit here now and I feel the emotions of it. And I think, oh, fucking hell, like...
It's heavy.
That's heavy. But then I walk out them doors and I'm
Yeah.
like, right, it's done now.
Absolutely. And I think that is the beauty.
Time for a Chinese.
Time for a Chinese. Jesus, I need a glass of wine. Just in rounding up, let's talk about what you want to say to a woman, a young girl, an older woman, doesn't matter age.
I think the biggest thing for me is, and I don't want to sit here and preach, you know, go to the police and stand up, because not that I don't want you to, but I also don't want to be... An abusive relationship and coming out of that is traumatizing and hard and difficult enough.
Yeah.
If you can find the strength, please do it.
To remove yourself.
To remove yourself from that situation. My biggest thing is cutting contact. Like I said, you cannot heal in the environments that break you, and friends, family, anything that surrounds that person, anything that connects you to that person, you have to break away from.
Yeah.
You physically cannot heal. You cannot change you. You cannot change your environment while being stuck in the environment that, you know, and survival comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Survival comes at a cost, and the cost is losing people. But while you're losing people, you are saving yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the most important thing.
Do you think that the court case... I have 2 questions, sorry, one was just coming to my head. Do you think that the court case was the real start of healing and moving forward?
I think I tried to heal while I was going through court. I think I threw myself so deep into a healing, but you can't. I put so much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
It's physically impossible.
Yeah.
You're still in fight or flight, and I'm only just realising that now. You physically cannot heal while going through court.
Yeah.
I don't think that. Listen, there was things that I'd done, and I'm so glad that I started that healing journey, because it gave me the strength to get through court.
Yeah.
And get through the hard times. Through that process, I lost my best friend. I lost my friendship group. But do I I don't know. It's a hard one. I think I'm only now healing.
Yeah, and I
or
think
starting to heal.
Yeah, and I think healing has no end.
Oh no, and it's fucking not linear.
No.
It's absolutely
It's definitely not linear.
not. It's 1 second to the other,
Completely.
let alone one day.
Yeah.
But I think the healing journey, I'm glad I started. It gave me strength and let me see. But I think my healing journey now is so different because
Yeah.
now I feel like I've got space to breathe. I'm not, going through court. I'm not dealing with police. I'm now doing it away from everything. And I'm now completely cut off from my friends. I'm completely, separated from that. And that's part of my past. And now last year was all about surviving.
Yeah.
This year is hopefully a bit more thriving.
Yes.
But this year is a bit more,
absolutely.
stepping into the next version of me.
Yeah. You should be so
Stepping into her.
proud. Stepping into her. You should honestly, I'm so moved. I'm so proud of you. My heart is beating out of my chest. Just for every woman that is out there suffering, Holly, you're an absolute inspiration. I want to cry again. I'm so sorry you've invited me on your podcast and I feel so emotional.
I've got ADHD and I'm really not touchy-feely, so I'm not going to
She's
cuddle
touching
you.
my hand. Thank you for touching my hand. But yeah, I'm just so proud of you. Like, you've been to the depths of despair and you are turning all of this pain into something so meaningful that is going to make a difference to women's lives, Holly.
Yeah, and I think this was one of the biggest things is there's so many things I've uncovered and I just thought nowhere talks about it. Nowhere talks about it. Nowhere knows. And I just don't... The depths of where I went to, I just want you to know this is my message. It does get better.
Yeah.
And I never believed that. And when I tell you I was at the brink, I think I was... Had my friend and my sister not told my mum that night, I dread to think, in all honesty, I'll be completely honest, I don't know what would have happened because I was at that point and everyone said to me it'll feel better and I was like, there is no way I'm ever not going to feel like this. And here I am.
Yeah. Living.
And that's my message to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard, it's not linear, it's up and down, but it doesn't forever have that grip on you.
That's a great way to describe it.
And brighter days do come and you won't ever be you again, but you'll be a different version of you, a stronger, and you will know what you will accept and what you won't again. And now I have a little bit of hope for my future and I didn't have that last year.
That's a really beautiful thing, Holly.
Yeah.
I have so much hope for your future. Watch out, world.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Watch out. Are we done?
I think we're done. We're done on that part,
We're
anyway.
done on that part. And the next episode will be all about healing.
Absolutely.
So thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Cass.
Thank you so much. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for trusting me with your story.
So welcome.
And being so vulnerable and so open. You're creating magic here, Holly, and you should be so proud.
Thanks, guys, and we will see you.
Yeah.
On the next episode. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. If this podcast resonates with you or somebody that you may know, please follow, share, like, subscribe, comment. House of H.E.R podcast is available on all normal podcast platforms. And we may not have all the answers, but if you are struggling, you need help, you are in any domestic abuse situation or going through any trauma, please reach out to us and we can always point you in the right direction.